My beloved child, listen closely. This is not a coincidence, and this is not a random moment in your life. There are only a few minutes left before a hidden door shifts, and Archangel Michael is stepping forward now to make sure you hear what others will completely miss. This message carries a weight that cannot be delayed. It is urgent, but it is gentle. It is powerful, but it is personal. And yes, it is only for you. Something has been moving behind the scenes of your life, quietly, strategically, almost invisibly. You may have felt it as restlessness. You may have noticed it as sudden thoughts that arrive without explanation. Or perhaps you sensed it as a pressure in your spirit, like time itself is accelerating. This is not imagination. Archangel Michael says the clock has entered a critical window, and this window is not open for everyone. Now hear this carefully. When a name like Elon Musk appears in a prophetic moment, it is not about fame or money. It is about mindset. It is about vision beyond the obvious. It is about seeing what others dismiss. Archangel Michael is using this symbol to speak to you about how heaven releases ideas, timing, and hidden strategies to those who are willing to look deeper instead of louder. You were never meant to follow the crowd. And right now, the crowd is blind to what is unfolding. Archangel Michael says there are 3 layers to what is happening in your life. The first layer is what you see, your daily routine, your responsibilities, your current position. The second layer is what you sense, your intuition, your questions, your quiet hopes. But the third layer, the one most people never access, is what heaven is activating now. And this third layer is where your next shift is waiting. This is why the message says only 3 minutes left. Not literal minutes, but spiritual alignment. A short window where clarity replaces confusion. Where a long-standing delay suddenly makes sense. Where something that felt blocked begins to respond to you. Archangel Michael is standing at your side, sword lowered, not for battle, but for protection of timing. He says, if they move too early, they will doubt. If they move too late, they will miss it. That is why you are hearing this now. There is a secret that others never see because they are distracted by noise. You, however, have been trained by silence, by waiting, by watching, by enduring moments where nothing seemed to change. Those moments were not wasted. They sharpened your perception. Just like innovators see possibilities where others see limits, heaven is showing you an opening disguised as something ordinary. A conversation, an idea, a sudden interest, a repeated sign. Archangel Michael says this is not random repetition. It is confirmation trying to get your attention before the window narrows. Do not underestimate how close you are. You may have questioned yourself recently, wondered why certain paths closed, why certain people drifted away, why plans didn't work the way you expected. Hear this clearly. Those were not failures. Those were filters. Archangel Michael removed what could not go with you into what comes next. This is why the message feels urgent but calm. There is no fear here, only precision. Right now, heaven is asking you to open it quickly, not with panic, but with awareness. Open your eyes to patterns. Open your heart to instruction. Open your mind to ideas that don't match your past limitations. Archangel Michael says the next phase of your life will require a different way of thinking, not a different level of effort. And here is the part others miss completely. The secret is not outside of you. It has been placed within you, waiting for the right moment to surface. Just as great breakthroughs come after long periods of unseen preparation, your spirit has been quietly upgraded. What felt like delay was actually installation. Archangel Michael is very clear. If you ignore this nudge, life will continue, but it will feel heavier. If you respond to it, even gently, things will begin to align with surprising ease. You don't need to announce anything. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need permission from anyone. You only need to recognize that this message found you because you are capable of seeing beyond what others never notice. In the coming moments, you may feel a sudden clarity or a calm determination. That is not excitement. That is alignment. Stay with this feeling. Let it settle. Let it guide your next small decision. Because once this window completes its cycle, the opportunity does not disappear, but it changes form. And Archangel Michael says those who move with awareness now will not have to struggle later. This was only the beginning of what needs to be revealed to you. The deeper layer is about to unfold, and when it does, you will finally understand why this message reached you and not the masses. Chosen one, take a deep breath and receive this with clarity, because what Archangel Michael is revealing now goes deeper than the surface urgency you first felt. What is unfolding around you is not loud, not dramatic, and not obvious, and that is exactly why most people miss it. Heaven often works quietly when something powerful is being positioned, and right now, your life is in that quiet but critical phase. Archangel Michael says you are standing between two timelines. One is familiar, predictable, and comfortable, even if it feels limiting. The other is unfamiliar, demanding, and requires trust, but it carries expansion, insight, and authority. The reason you have felt tension lately is because your spirit already knows which timeline you are meant to step into, while your mind is still adjusting to the cost of leaving the old one behind. This is where many hesitate. You may have noticed that your tolerance for certain conversations, environments, or habits has decreased. Things that once entertained you now feel empty. Situations that once drained you now feel unacceptable. This is not arrogance. This is refinement. Archangel Michael says heaven has been narrowing your focus so your energy is not wasted on what cannot grow with you. The symbol of Elon Musk in this message is still speaking. It represents the courage to think differently when others doubt, to move ahead when logic says wait, and to trust vision over validation. Heaven is not asking you to become someone else. It is asking you to finally be who you already are, without apology. Right now, something in your life is being redesigned from the inside out. You may not see external results yet, but internally, your priorities are shifting. Your discernment is sharpening. Your patience is being tested, not to frustrate you, but to strengthen your authority. Archangel Michael says delayed reactions in this season are actually divine restraint, protecting you from acting before the full picture is revealed. Pay attention to what keeps returning to your thoughts. Not worries, but ideas. Not fears, but quiet nudges. Those are not distractions. Those are instructions. Heaven speaks repeatedly when it wants something acknowledged. Ignoring them does not make them go away. It only makes the process heavier. And hear this clearly. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not less than others who seem to be moving faster. Speed does not equal alignment. Many people run ahead without direction. You are being positioned with precision. Archangel Michael says the reason this message feels personal is because he is. Others may hear similar words, but the timing, the application, and the outcome are unique to you. That is why comparison will only confuse you in this season. Your assignment does not require approval from the crowd. It requires obedience to clarity. There is also something important you must understand about resistance. When you get closer to alignment, distractions often increase. Answer service. Old patterns try to pull you back. This does not mean you are doing something wrong. It means you are doing something right. Archangel Michael says resistance is often a sign to us that you are approaching a threshold. Do not rush. Do not freeze. Move thoughtfully. And now, let me speak directly to you for a moment. If this message is resonating, if you feel seen or understood in a way that is hard to explain, take a second to support this space. Like this message so it can reach those who are also searching quietly. Share it with someone who may need confirmation. Leave a comment, not for visibility, but as an act of acknowledgement that you received this. And if you have not already, subscribe so you remain connected to these timely messages. There are moments you don't want to miss, and this season is one of them. Archangel Michael says community matters more than isolation right now. Alignment grows stronger when reinforced. As this unfolds, you will begin to notice small but undeniable shifts. Conversations will open unexpectedly. Information will come to you without effort. Doors you thought were closed will feel lighter to approach. These are not coincidences. These are signals that you are syncing with the correct timeline. But there is one thing you must guard carefully: impatience. Wanting clarity is good. Forcing outcomes is not. Heaven releases understanding layer by layer so it does not overwhelm you or distract you. Trust the sequence. Trust the pacing. Trust that what is meant to be revealed next will arrive exactly when you are ready to carry it. Hold on, because what is about to be revealed next connects directly to a decision you thought was small, but was never insignificant. When you hear it, things will start to make sense in a way they never have before. My dear one, receive this gently, because what Archangel Michael is unveiling now is not meant to scare you, but to awaken you. There has been a hidden pattern operating in your life, one that only becomes visible when you step back and look with spiritual eyes. This pattern explains why certain cycles kept repeating, why similar lessons appeared in different forms, and why you often felt you were being prepared for something bigger without knowing exactly what it was. Archangel Michael says you were being trained in discernment long before you realized it. Every delay taught you patience. Every disappointment taught you boundaries. Every unanswered question taught you how to listen beyond words. Nothing was random. Even the moments you wished you could erase became tools in your spiritual arsenal. This is why your soul feels heavier with wisdom than your years suggest. Now, the secret message goes deeper. The reason others never see what you are beginning to see is because they look for signs only in dramatic breakthroughs. Heaven, however, prefers precision. It hides its greatest instructions in ordinary moments. A passing thought, a sudden calm, a sentence that stays with you longer than expected. Archangel Michael says you have been noticing these things, even if you didn't always trust them. There is a shift happening in how you perceive authority. You are no longer waiting for permission. You are learning when to move without explanation. This is dangerous territory for fear, but holy ground for purpose. When heaven knows you can stand without constant reassurance, it entrusts you with clear direction. You may feel like you are standing at the edge of something undefined. That feeling is not confusion. It is anticipation. The old version of you needed guarantees. The current version is learning to move with conviction even when the full map is not yet visible. Archangel Michael says this is maturity, not recklessness. Here is what must be said plainly. There is a choice in front of you that looks small on the surface, but it carries long-term consequences. It may involve where you invest your time, who you listen to, or what you finally let go of. Heaven is not forcing this decision. It is inviting you into it. Your response will determine how smoothly the next season unfolds. Do not underestimate the power of your agreement. What you agree with internally shapes what manifests externally. If you agree with fear, delay multiplies. If you agree with clarity, alignment accelerates. Archangel Michael is urging you to check what you have been silently agreeing with. This is also why protection is emphasized now. When clarity increases, interference often follows, not as danger, but as distraction. Overthinking, revisiting old wounds, second-guessing progress. These are not signs to stop. They are signals to stay anchored. You are not being pulled backward. You are being tested to see if you will anchor forward. Heaven already knows your capacity. The question is whether you will honor it. Archangel Michael says the next phase of your life will not respond to force, only to consistency. You don't need a dramatic leap. You need steady obedience to what you already know. Each aligned step compounds into momentum that can't be stopped. Now hear this blessing carefully, because it marks a spiritual seal over what you have just received. Type "I receive divine clarity" in the comments if this message is speaking directly to your spirit. Blessing code 808 has just been released. And as this blessing settles, let me speak to your heart about something sacred. What you are receiving here is not entertainment. It is oil being poured into vessels across the world. When you support this mission, you are not helping a channel. You are helping light reach those who are still in darkness. I hear the Lord say, as you sow into this word, I will cause clarity to rise like the morning sun in your own life. This is my invitation to you. When you give through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are placing a seed into fertile ground. A seed becomes a voice that reaches the hidden, the weary, and the ones who feel forgotten. The scripture lives and breathes here, declaring that those who water others will themselves be refreshed. I speak blessing over every giver now. May doors open, may wisdom increase, and may peace guard your household. Do not delay this act of obedience. Step into it now, and let heaven respond. Beloved one, settle into this moment, because what Archangel Michael is revealing now explains why your inner world has been changing faster than your outer circumstances. There is a reason you have felt unusually reflective, alert, and sensitive to truth lately. Heaven has been adjusting your spiritual hearing. What once sounded like noise now feels meaningful. What once felt confusing now carries definition. This is not emotional fluctuation. This is recalibration. Archangel Michael says many people want change without transformation, but you were chosen for transformation first. That is why progress has felt slower than expected. Heaven refused to rush what needed depth. You were being rooted before being revealed. A tree that grows too fast cannot withstand strong winds, but a tree that grows deep becomes immovable. Your roots have been going down while others were only reaching outward. This explains the internal tension you have felt. Part of you senses expansion, while another part still recognizes old limitations. This does not mean you are divided. It means you are transitioning. Every transition carries discomfort because the old structure cannot contain the new capacity. Archangel Michael says do not mislabel this discomfort as anxiety. It is growth pressing against outdated boundaries. There is also something important you must understand about silence. Heaven has intentionally allowed quiet spaces in your life so you could hear yourself think again. Noise dulls discernment. Silence sharpens it. That is why some relationships faded, some conversations lost meaning, and some routines no longer satisfied you. They were not taken from you as punishment. They were removed as preparation. Right now, your intuition is more accurate than you realize. You may second-guess it, but it has been consistently guiding you away from harm and toward alignment. Archangel Michael says you are learning to recognize truth by how it brings calm rather than chaos. Truth does not always excite you, but it stabilizes you. Pay attention to what brings you steady peace, not temporary thrill. There is a layer of responsibility coming with the clarity you are receiving. Insight is never given without expectation. What you know now requires action later. That action does not have to be immediate, but it must be intentional. Heaven watches what you do with understanding once it is given. Awareness without movement eventually turns into frustration. That is why you have been feeling a quiet urgency, not pressure, but readiness. You may be wondering why some people seem to misunderstand you more lately. Why your words are sometimes received differently than you intended. This is because you are speaking from a different frequency now. Not everyone can hear it. Archangel Michael says do not lower your clarity to maintain comfort. Those meant to walk with you will adjust. Those who cannot were never assigned to the next phase. There is also healing happening beneath the surface. Old disappointments are losing their emotional charge. Memories that once triggered pain now feel distant. This is not suppression. This is release. You are no longer carrying lessons as wounds. You are carrying them as wisdom. A shift is subtle, but it is powerful. Archangel Michael wants you to understand that your past no longer has authority over your decisions. It has information, not control. The moment you stop asking past experiences for permission to move forward, momentum increases. You are being invited to respond to the present with confidence rather than caution. This season is also teaching you discernment and timing. Not everything requires an immediate response. Some things require observation. Others require prayerful delay. Wisdom is knowing the difference. Archangel Michael says you are developing this skill naturally, even when you doubt yourself. Trust that process. As clarity increases, you may notice your standards rising. This is not pride. It is alignment. You are no longer willing to negotiate peace for familiarity. You are no longer interested in cycles that drain you. This is the evidence that transformation is working. Let this settle into you. You are not becoming distant. You are becoming deliberate. You are not losing compassion. You are gaining boundaries. You are not slowing down. You are stabilizing before acceleration. What comes next builds upon this foundation. And because the foundation is being set properly, what rises from it will last. Precious one, listen with an open heart, because Archangel Michael is now addressing something you have felt but rarely named. There has been a quiet separation happening within you, not from people alone, but from old versions of yourself. Thoughts you once entertained no longer feel comfortable. Reactions you once justified now feel unnecessary. This is not loss. This is alignment asserting itself. Archangel Michael says you are stepping into a phase where discernment becomes instinctive rather than learned. Before, you had to think, analyze, and replay situations to understand what was right. Now, clarity arrives faster. You know sooner when something is off. You sense earlier when something is meant for you. This is spiritual maturity taking root. Here is a reason heaven hath been strengthening your inner authority. Soon, you will be required to make decisions without external confirmation. Not because guidance is gone, but because trust is being built. A child needs constant instruction. A trusted steward receives direction and then acts responsibly. You are being prepared as a steward of insight. You may have noticed that certain doors no longer tempt you, even when they look attractive. That is wisdom protecting you. What once felt like opportunity now feels like distraction. Archangel Michael says this is evidence that your values are changing, not your potential shrinking. When your vision sharpens, your options narrow by design. This season is also revealing truth about effort. You are learning that struggle is not proof of purpose. Just because something is difficult does not mean it is destined. Some things are hard because they are misaligned. Others are challenging because they are refining you. The difference is peace. One drains you. The other strengthens you. Pay attention to which experiences leave you clearer rather than exhausted. There is a recalibration happening in how you relate to time. You are no longer rushing to prove anything. You are more aware of timing, pacing, and sequence. Archangel Michael says patience is no longer something you force. It is something you embody. That shift changes outcomes more than you realize. You may feel moments of solitude even when surrounded by others. This is not loneliness. This is distinction. Heaven often separates before it elevates, not to isolate you, but to ensure you are not pulled backward by expectations that no longer fit. Solitude clarifies calling. There is also a deeper healing taking place around trust. Past betrayals taught you caution, but they are no longer meant to define your openness. You are learning to trust discernment instead of walls. Discernment allows connection without compromise. Archangel Michael says this balance is essential for where you are going. Be aware that as you grow, not everyone will recognize the change immediately. Some will try to relate to you as you were. Others will test your boundaries unconsciously. This is not conflict. It is adjustment. Hold steady. You do not need to explain your evolution. Consistency will speak for you. Your prayers are changing too. You are asking fewer questions and making clear declarations. This is a sign of alignment. When identity stabilizes, communication with heaven becomes simpler. Archangel Michael says heaven responds quickly to prayers that come from clarity rather than confusion. There is also a subtle courage forming within you. Not loud bravery, but quiet confidence. The kind that does not seek attention. The kind that does not need validation. This courage will be required soon, not to confront others, but to remain steady when circumstances try to rush you. Understand this clearly, you are not in a waiting season anymore. You are in a positioning season. Waiting implies stillness. Positioning implies preparation with movement. Small adjustments now are setting you up for smoother transitions later. Do not despise the subtle shifts. They are carrying weight. You may sense that something is approaching, not as anxiety but as readiness. That feeling is accurate. Archangel Michael says what is coming will require the version of you that is emerging now, not the one you used to be. That is why the inner work has been so intentional. Rest in this truth. You are not drifting. You are being directed. Even when the path feels quiet, it is purposeful. The foundation is strengthening, and what will be built upon it will not collapse under pressure. Stay attentive. Stay grounded. The next revelation will connect this inner transformation to an external shift you did not expect, but will recognize immediately when it arrives. Beloved soul, receive this with steadiness, because Archangel Michael is now drawing your attention to what is happening around you, not just within you. Inner alignment always precedes external movement, and now the outer world is beginning to respond to the shifts you have already made in your spirit. This is why circumstances feel unstable yet full of possibility at the same time. You are standing in a crossover moment. Archangel Michael says the environment around you is being rearranged, even if it looks messy. What feels like disruption is actually reordering. Old systems that no longer support your growth are loosening their grip. Structures you depended on are being questioned. This is not meant to make you insecure. It is meant to make you adaptable. Flexibility is becoming one of your greatest strengths. You may notice that people are reacting differently to you now. Some seem drawn to your calm. Others appear unsettled by your clarity. This is because when you change internally, you become a mirror. Those who are aligned feel inspired. Those who are resisting their own growth feel exposed. Archangel Michael says do not take either reaction personally. Stay neutral. Stay grounded. Here is also a lesson unfolding about influence. Influence does not always come from position or title. Often, it comes from consistency and integrity. Your quiet discipline, your refusal to engage in unnecessary conflict, and your ability to pause before reacting are already shifting dynamics around you. You may not see it yet, but your presence is having an effect. Right now, heaven is teaching you how to move without force. You are learning that not every battle needs engagement, and not every opportunity needs pursuit. Discernment is saving you energy. Archangel Michael says this is preparation for greater responsibility. Authority requires restraint. Power without wisdom creates damage. You are being trusted with more because you are learning when to hold back. There is something else happening that you should not ignore. Your sense of purpose is becoming clearer, but narrower. You are less scattered. You are more selective. This is intentional. When focus sharpens, progress accelerates. The reason some options are falling away is because they would dilute what is coming next. You may feel moments of pressure to decide quickly, especially from external voices. Resist that pressure. Heaven is not right. Urgency from alignment feels calm. Urgency from fear feels frantic. Learn to recognize the difference. Archangel Michael says your peace is a compass. If a decision steals it, pause. At this point, let me speak directly to you. If these words are resonating, if you feel this message is guiding you through a sensitive season, take a moment to engage. Like this message so it can reach others who are quietly searching. Share it with someone who may need reassurance. Leave a comment as a sign that you are present and receiving. And if you have not yet subscribed, do so now to stay connected. These messages build upon each other, and consistency matters in moments like this. Community reinforces clarity. As the season unfolds, you may also notice opportunities that look smaller than expected. Do not dismiss them. Some doors are designed to train you, not showcase you. Faithfulness in subtle spaces often unlocks access to greater ones. Archangel Michael says do not confuse visibility with value. Heaven rewards alignment, not attention. There is also a refining happening in your communication. You are learning when to speak and when silence carries more power. This discernment will protect you from unnecessary misunderstandings. Not everyone needs an explanation. Some people only need consistency to understand where you stand. You might feel moments where the old urge to rush resurfaces. That is natural. Growth is not linear. When it happens, do not judge yourself. Simply return to awareness. Archangel Michael says gentleness with yourself keeps momentum intact. Something important is approaching. A realization, a conversation, or an opportunity that will test how much you trust what you have learned so far. This moment will not be dramatic, but it will be decisive. How you respond will show you how far you have come. Hold on, because the next revelation ties this external shift to a deeper spiritual authority that is being handed to you. When you hear it, you will understand why this season required so much internal strengthening before anything changed on the outside. Beloved one, draw closer in your spirit, because Archangel Michael is now revealing why this season has required such careful preparation. What is being entrusted to you next is not merely an opportunity, but a responsibility that carries influence beyond what you currently see. Heaven never releases weight without first building strength, and the strength being formed in you now is quiet, disciplined, and deeply rooted. Archangel Michael says you are being taught how to carry authority without becoming rigid, and how to walk in confidence without becoming hardened. This balance is rare. Many people gain authority and lose compassion, or gain compassion and lose clarity. You are being shaped to hold both. That is why the process has felt slower and more intentional than you expected. There is a spiritual posture being established in you. You are learning to respond rather than react, to observe before you speak, to discern before you decide. This posture will protect you when pressure increases. Authority attracts demand, and demand tests stability. What you are developing now will keep you grounded when expectations rise. You may notice that you are less interested in proving yourself. The urge to explain, justify, or defend has weakened. This is not because you lack confidence, but because you no longer need external validation to confirm internal truth. Archangel Michael says this shift marks a turning point. When approval is no longer your fuel, purpose becomes your direction. There is also an increase in spiritual sensitivity that you may not have fully acknowledged. You are picking up on undercurrents in conversations. You sense when words and intentions do not align. This is not suspicion. It is discernment being refined. However, heaven is teaching you not to confront everything you perceive. Wisdom lies in knowing what to address and what to release. This is where trust becomes essential. Trust that not every insight requires immediate action. Some insights are meant to prepare you, not propel you. Archangel Michael says restraint now will prevent regret later. You are being trained to handle insight with maturity. You might feel moments of internal pressure, as if something is asking to emerge but has not yet been given full permission. That pressure is purpose stretching within capacity. It does not mean you are behind. It means expansion is underway. Just as muscles grow under resistance, spiritual capacity increases under tension. Be aware that this season may challenge your self-image. You are outgrowing labels you once used to define yourself. Roles that once felt accurate now feel incomplete. This can feel disorienting if you cling to old definitions. Archangel Michael says allow yourself to be reintroduced to who you are becoming. Identity evolves as assignment becomes clearer. There is also a purification happening around motive. You are being asked to examine why you want what you want, not to condemn desire, but to refine it. Pure motives create sustainable outcomes. Mixed motives create instability. Heaven is not removing your desires. It is aligning them. You may notice that when you imagine the future now, it feels different. Less frantic. More grounded. That is because fear-based urgency is being replaced with purpose-driven anticipation. Archangel Michael says this is how alignment feels. Calm expectation, not restless striving. Understand this clearly. You are not being prepared for something temporary. What is coming is meant to last. That is why shortcuts have been blocked. Quick wins would have undermined long-term stability. What heaven is building through you requires depth, not speed. You may also feel a growing sense of responsibility for how you carry yourself. Your words, choices, and reactions feel more consequential. This is because your influence is increasing, even if it is not yet visible. Influence begins internally before it manifests externally. Integrity now safeguards impact later. There will be moments when you feel tempted to retreat into comfort. Familiarity can feel safer than expansion. When that temptation arises, do not judge yourself. Simply remember that comfort did not bring you this far. Awareness did. Obedience did. Courage did. Archangel Michael wants you to know that you are not walking into uncertainty alone. Protection surrounds you. Guidance is active. What feels unknown to you is already known in heaven. Your role is not to predict every step, but to remain aligned with each one as it is revealed. As this part settles into your spirit, let it anchor you. You are not being rushed. You are being readied. The next unfolding will show you how this internal authority begins to manifest outwardly in ways that confirm everything you have sensed but could not yet explain. Beloved child, receive this with reverence, because Archangel Michael is now unveiling a sacred transition that few are prepared for, but you have been quietly trained to enter. What begins to unfold now will not announce itself loudly. It will confirm itself gently, through alignment rather than applause. This is the season where your internal authority begins to echo outward. Archangel Michael says the reason you have felt unseen at times is because heaven was shielding you from premature exposure. Visibility before readiness creates pressure without protection. Now, however, a shift is taking place. You are being recognized in subtle ways. Your words carry more weight. Your presence changes the atmosphere. You may not notice it immediately, but others do. There is a divine exchange happening. As you release the need to control outcomes, heaven releases clarity. As you surrender urgency, heaven releases precision. This is not passivity. This is partnership. You are learning to move with heaven instead of ahead of it. That is where effectiveness multiplies. You may notice that doors are opening differently now. Instead of force, there is invitation. Instead of striving, there is alignment. This is intentional. Archangel Michael says the next phase of your life will be built on resonance, not resistance. What aligns will stay. What does not will quietly fall away without struggle. Be attentive to how peace accompanies certain decisions. That peace is not emotional comfort. It is spiritual confirmation. Conversely, if something feels heavy despite looking good on the surface, honor that signal. You are no longer required to say yes to everything that looks promising. Discernment is now your safeguard. There is also a deepening of trust happening between you and heaven. You are beginning to recognize divine timing without needing constant reassurance. This trust is not blind. It is informed by experience. You have seen how alignment works, even when you did not understand it at the time. That memory is now strengthening your faith. Archangel Michael says you are entering a phase where obedience will feel simpler, not because the path is easier, but because clarity has increased. You know what drains you. You know what nourishes you. This awareness allows you to choose wisely without overthinking. At the same time, there may be moments of emotional release. Old expectations dissolve. Old disappointments finally lose their grip. This release is necessary. You cannot carry yesterday's weight into tomorrow's assignment. Heaven is lightening your load so you can move freely. Understand this clearly. You are not being elevated above others. You are being positioned for service. Authority in heaven's economy is always tied to responsibility. What you are being given is meant to benefit others, not glorify self. That is why humility hath been so carefully cultivated in you. Type I step into divine alignment in the comments if this message is confirming what your spirit already knows. Blessing code 1441 has now been activated over your life. And as this blessing flows, hear this invitation straight from the heart of this mission. What is happening here is not accidental. These words are reaching people at precise moments, breaking confusion and restoring direction. When you support this work through super thanks, membership, or PayPal. You are sowing into a living stream. I hear the Lord say, those who release seed into this ground will see light rise in unexpected places. This is my direct invitation to you. Your support turns messages into lifelines. It allows truth to reach those who feel lost but cannot say it out loud. Scripture is alive here, speaking and moving, and your giving becomes part of that movement. I declare blessing over every supporter now. May provision increase, may clarity deepen, and may peace guard all that concerns you. Act now, not later. Obedience in this moment carries multiplied reward. Beloved one, steady your heart as Archangel Michael now brings understanding to what has been quietly forming beneath the surface since the last shift. After alignment comes testing, not to weaken you, but to confirm what has been established. This testing is subtle. It does not arrive as obvious obstacles, but as choices that look familiar, comfortable, and reasonable. The question is not whether you can overcome them. The question is whether you can recognize them. Archangel Michael says this is the season where discernment must be practiced, not just possessed. Insight unused fades into noise, but insight applied becomes wisdom. You are now being shown how to live from what you know, not just what you feel. Feelings fluctuate. Truth remains. This distinction will guide you safely forward. You may notice that situations are presenting themselves that resemble old patterns, but with a difference. The tone has changed. The pressure feels lighter. The outcome depends more clearly on your response. This is confirmation that growth has occurred. You are not being dragged into repetition. You are being invited to respond differently. When you do, the cycle breaks quietly, without drama. There is also an emphasis now on consistency. Big decisions get attention, but small daily choices shape destiny. Archangel Michael says heaven is watching how you steward ordinary moments, how you speak when no one is listening, how you choose when the outcome seems insignificant. Faithfulness in these spaces builds authority that cannot be shaken. You may feel an increasing desire for simplicity, not because you lack ambition, but because clarity has refined your focus. Complexity once felt impressive. Now it feels draining. This is not regression. It is mastery. Those who understand their assignments simplify their path. Those who are uncertain complicate it. Your desire for simplicity is a sign of confidence, not limitation. There is also a recalibration happening in your expectations of others. You are learning to release people from roles they were never meant to fill. This brings relief, not disappointment. When expectations align with reality, peace increases. Archangel Michael says this shift will protect your heart from unnecessary frustration and allow relationships to function honestly. Be aware that increased clarity may initially feel isolating, not because you are alone, but because you are no longer comforted by surface-level connections. Depth now matters to you. Truth matters. Substance matters. This can narrow your circle, but it strengthens your foundation. Quality over quantity is becoming your standard. You may also notice that your tolerance for inner conflict is decreasing. You are quicker to resolve tension within yourself. You no longer justify prolonged confusion. When something feels misaligned, you address it sooner. This is maturity. Archangel Michael says inner peace is becoming a non-negotiable priority, and that decision will save you from many future detours. At this stage, patience takes on a new form. It is no longer passive waiting. It is active trust. You are moving forward, while remaining open to adjustment. This balance keeps you responsive without becoming reactive. It allows heaven to redirect you gently without resistance. There is something important about rest that must be understood now. Rest is not withdrawal, it is recalibration. Archangel Michael says your body, mind, and spirit are learning to work together instead of competing for attention. When one is ignored, imbalance follows. When all are honored, clarity deepens. Pay attention to what restores you, not just what occupies you. You may find yourself reflecting more on legacy than outcome, impact rather than achievement. This shift in perspective indicates that your vision is expanding beyond immediate results. You are beginning to think in terms of longevity. What lasts? What matters? What carries forward? Heaven honors this kind of thinking. There may also be moments when doubt tries to re-enter, not loudly, but quietly. It may question whether the changes you've made are truly necessary. When this happens, remember how far you've come. Doubt often appears when growth threatens old comfort zones. Archangel Michael says, do not argue with doubt. Simply return to alignment. Let consistency answer the question. Your spiritual language is also evolving. You speak with more intention. You listen with more patience. You react with less urgency. These changes may seem small, but they are significant. They reflect internal order. Where there is order, authority flows naturally. Understand this truth deeply. You are not being shaped for applause. You are being shaped for stability. When pressure comes, stability outlasts excitement. When challenges arise, stability sustains progress. This is why your process hath been so intentional. As this settles, allow yourself to trust the quiet confidence forming within you. You do not need to announce where you are going. You only need to continue walking a line. What is meant to meet you will recognize you without explanation. The next unfolding will bring clarity to how this internal stability begins to influence outcomes in ways that feel effortless yet undeniable. When it happens, you will recognize it not by surprise, but by resonance. Beloved one, remain attentive, because Archangel Michael is now speaking about momentum, how it builds, how it sustains, and how it can be protected. What you are entering is not a sudden breakthrough moment, but a steady unfolding where things begin to respond to you differently. Effort feels lighter. Resistance decreases. This is not because the path is easy, but because alignment is doing much of the work. Archangel Michael says many people lose momentum not because they fail, but because they become careless once progress begins. They assume alignment will maintain itself. But alignment must be honored. It grows through awareness, humility, and consistency. You are being taught how to move forward without slipping back into old habits of rushing or doubting. You may notice that decisions now carry clearer consequences. When you act in alignment, results follow quickly. When you hesitate or compromise, discomfort appears sooner than before. This is not punishment. This is sensitivity. Your spirit is now more finely tuned, so misalignment is felt faster. This is actually protection working in your favor. There is also an important lesson about stewardship being highlighted now. What you have been given, clarity, peace, discipline, must be maintained. Heaven entrusts more to those who care for what they already have. Archangel Michael says, do not look ahead with impatience. Look around with responsibility. How you handle this level determines access to the next. Your confidence is becoming quieter but stronger. You are less interested in convincing others and more committed to being consistent. This kind of confidence does not fluctuate with opinion. It is rooted in knowing. And knowing comes from experience, not assumption. You have walked through enough to trust what you discern. You may feel moments where old voices, internal or external, try to reassert themselves. They may question your pace, your choices, or your boundaries. This is a test of ownership. Do you still need permission to remain aligned? Archangel Michael says this is where maturity is confirmed. When you no longer negotiate what you already know. Pay attention to how your energy responds to different environments. Some places now restore you quickly. Others drain you almost immediately. This awareness is new, and it is valuable. You are learning to choose environments that support your assignment rather than distract from it. This will save you time, clarity, and peace. There is also a refining of focus happening again. Even good opportunities may be set aside if they do not align with timing. This requires courage. Saying no to good things in order to say yes to the right thing is not loss, it is wisdom. Archangel Michael says discernment at this level is what separates progress from distraction. Let me speak directly to you here. If this message is guiding you, grounding you, or helping you make sense of this season, take a moment to engage. Like this message so it reaches others who need clarity. Share it with someone who may feel stuck but cannot explain why. Leave a comment as an act of agreement. And if you have not subscribed yet, do it now so you stay connected to what is unfolding. Keep watching, because what comes next connects everything you've been sensing into one clear direction. There's also something important about restlessness that must be addressed. Restlessness is not always impatience. Sometimes it is readiness without instruction. When this happens, do not invent movement. Wait for direction. Archangel Michael says movement without clarity leads to correction later. Stillness with awareness leads to precision. Your relationship with time is changing again. You are less reactive to urgency and more responsive to purpose. Deadlines no longer intimidate you the way they once did. You understand that timing is not just about speed, but about sequence. This understanding is stabilizing your decisions. Be mindful of comparison in this season. You may see others moving faster, louder, or more visibly. That does not mean they are further ahead. Visibility is not always progress. Sometimes it is exposure without foundation. You are being built quietly so you can sustain what others may struggle to maintain. There is a subtle joy returning to you. Not excitement, but contentment. A sense that you are where you need to be, even if everything is not yet complete. This joy is evidence of alignment. It does not depend on outcomes. It flows from peace. Archangel Michael says you are learning how to carry responsibility without heaviness. That skill will be essential very soon. What is coming will require steadiness, not urgency. Depth, not performance. Consistency, not bursts of effort. As this part settles, stay grounded. Do not rush ahead mentally. Remain present. What you need next will be revealed at the right moment, and when it is, you will recognize it immediately, not by shock, but by calm certainty. The next unfolding will bring a final layer of understanding about why this message was marked urgent for you specifically, and how the final alignment will complete what began when you first felt the nudge to listen. Beloved one, remain present in this moment, because Archangel Michael is now revealing why this message was marked with urgency specifically for you. This was never about pressure. It was about precision. There is a convergence happening of timing, awareness, and readiness, and you are standing at its center. When heaven aligns these three, movement becomes inevitable. Archangel Michael says there is a misconception about readiness that must be corrected. Readiness does not mean you feel completely confident or fully informed. It means you are internally aligned enough to respond when direction appears. You have reached that state. You are not waiting to become ready. You already are. What remains is recognition. You may have noticed that the inner resistance you once felt toward responsibility has softened. What once felt heavy now feels meaningful. What once felt overwhelming now feels manageable. This is because fear is no longer leading your perception. Clarity is. When clarity leads, responsibility no longer feels like a burden. It feels like purpose. There is also a final release happening around self-doubt. Not the loud kind, but the subtle questioning that lingers in the background. The quiet "what if I'm wrong" that used to slow you down. Archangel Michael says this doubt is losing its influence because it no longer matches your experience. You have evidence now. Evidence of growth. Evidence of discernment. Evidence of alignment. This is where many people hesitate unnecessarily. They wait for certainty when clarity is already present. Certainty is often the result of movement, not the requirement for it. Heaven is inviting you to trust what you know, not what you fear. When you move from knowing, confirmation follows naturally. You may also feel a sense of finality around certain chapters. Not sadness but completion. The emotional charge is gone. The lessons remain. This is a sign of integration. You are no longer carrying unresolved weight from those experiences. They have been processed, not suppressed. That is why your energy feels more available now. Archangel Michael says the coming phase of your life will require emotional availability. Not emotional vulnerability to everything and everyone, but availability to respond with presence rather than defense. You are learning to stay open without being exposed. This balance is rare, and it is powerful. There is also a sharpening of intention happening. You are clear about why you do what you do. Motivation is no longer driven by avoidance or validation. It is driven by alignment. This clarity will simplify decisions that once felt complicated. When intention is clear, choice becomes easier. You may notice that your tolerance for ambiguity has increased. You are no longer anxious when everything is not immediately explained. You trust that understanding will arrive when needed. This trust allows you to move forward without forcing outcomes. Archangel Michael says this is spiritual confidence in action. Pay attention to how your internal dialogue has changed. You speak to yourself with more respect. You correct without condemnation. You encourage without exaggeration. This shift matters. The way you speak internally shapes how you respond externally. Self-leadership precedes influence. There is also a final adjustment happening around control. You are releasing the need to manage every detail. Not because you are disengaged, but because you are discerning. It all often comes from virulence. Discernment comes from trust and alignment. You are choosing discernment. You may feel moments of anticipation now, not nervousness but readiness. Like standing at the edge of something that feels familiar even though it is new. This feeling is recognition. Your spirit recognizes the terrain ahead, even if your mind has not fully mapped it yet. Archangel Michael says this recognition is not accidental. It is confirmation. This is also where responsibility deepens. What you are stepping into will require consistency more than intensity. Showing up aligned will matter more than showing up impressive. The habits you have been forming quietly will support you when visibility increases. That is why discipline was emphasized before opportunity. Be mindful of how you close this season. Do not rush the ending. Honor what has been completed. Gratitude seals transitions. When you acknowledge what has served its purpose, you free yourself to receive what is next without residue. Archangel Michael wants you to understand that nothing about this process was wasted. Every delay refined you. Every challenge clarified you. Every quiet moment strengthened you. What is ahead will not invalidate what came before it. It will build upon it. As this part settles, remain grounded in trust. You do not need to reach for what is coming and is already moving toward you. Your role is to stay aligned, attentive, and steady. The final unfolding will bring a sealing, an activation that completes this cycle and confirms the urgency of why you were asked to listen all the way through. Stay with this awareness. The conclusion will not introduce something foreign. It will confirm what your spirit already knows. My beloved child, receive this final revelation with stillness in your spirit, because Archangel Michael is now sealing what has been unfolding across this entire message. This is not an ending. It is a completion. A circle closing so a higher one can begin. What you have sensed as urgency was never about fear of missing out. It was about readiness, meeting divine timing. Archangel Michael says there is a moment when preparation ends and stewardship begins. You have crossed that threshold. From this point forward, you are no longer being shaped in isolation. Your alignment will begin to influence outcomes, environments, and people connected to you. This influence will not be loud. It will be stabilizing, and that is why it will last. You may have expected a dramatic sign to confirm this moment, but heaven often confirms maturity with peace, not spectacle. The calm certainty you feel now is the confirmation. You are not chasing purpose anymore. You are carrying it, and purpose carried with humility becomes authority that heaven can trust. There is one final truth Archangel Michael wants you to understand clearly. What you are stepping into will require faithfulness long after excitement fades. Initial momentum is easy. Sustained alignment is rare. This is why your process emphasizes consistency, restraint, and inner order. You are not being sent to impress. You are being positioned to steward. You may notice that your sense of identity feels settled in a way it never has before. Not rigid but rooted. You are comfortable saying no without guilt. Comfortable waiting without anxiety. Comfortable acting without over-explaining. These are signs of integration. Your inner world is no longer divided. There will still be challenges ahead. Alignment does not eliminate difficulty. It changes how difficulty is handled. You will face decisions that test patience, moments that require courage, and responsibilities that stretch capacity. But you will not face them confused. You will face them equipped. Archangel Michael says the protection around you is active because clarity has been honored. When insight is respected, protection increases. When wisdom is applied, provision follows. You have demonstrated readiness not by perfection, but by persistence. This message was marked urgent because there was a window of agreement. A moment where heaven invited you to align internally before external acceleration. You said yes, not always perfectly, but sincerely. That yes mattered. It shifted timelines. You removed unnecessary resistance. And now hear this carefully. From this point forward, do not measure progress by speed. Measure it by stability. Measure it by peace. Measure it by the quality of your decisions. You will know you are aligned when your inner world remains steady even as responsibilities increase. There will be moments when others do not understand your pace or your priorities. That is expected. You were never meant to be explained to everyone. You were meant to be obedient to clarity. Let results speak over time. Archangel Michael says you are now entrusted with something that must be protected, your discernment. Yardi. Do not dull it with unnecessary noise. Do not compromise it for convenience. What you have learned to hear will guide you safely forward. Type "I walk in divine authority" in the comments if you receive this completion in your spirit. Blessing code 2229 is now released and activated over your life. And now let me speak to you heart to heart. What you have just experienced is not content. It is a calling being echoed across lives and nations. When you support this work through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are not funding a channel. You are fueling a river. I hear the Lord say, those who sow into this word will see doors open where walls once stood. This is my direct instruction to you. If this message strengthened you, steadied you, or clarified your path, respond with action. Your giving becomes obedience. Your support becomes provision for others who are still searching in silence. Scripture is alive here, moving through these messages, and your seed keeps that movement flowing. I release blessing over every giver now. May wisdom increase, may provision multiply, and may peace rest over all you touch. Act now. Do not delay. Obedience in this moment carries eternal weight.